Discover the incredible moment billionaire declines handshake. Then a black man reveals 4B in support for community change. The air was electric at the Harlem Fair, vibrant banners wafting in the breeze, and the tantalizing scent of street food wafting through the crowd. Marcus, a mechanic with grease-stained hands and a heart full of dreams, felt the pulse of his community around him. Every smile, every laughter echoed hope. This was his chance. He looked at his son, Elijah, playing on the rides, joy lighting up his small face. This was all for him every long night at the shop, every neighbor he helped, every moment of sacrifice. Marcus felt the weight of his responsibility like a badge of honor, yet, deep down, a fear gnawed at him. With rising rents and gentrification swallowing Harlem whole, would this legacy he built withstand the storm? Today, he would share his vision, a lifeline to his community, if only he could get the attention of the billionaire who promised revitalization. Marcus finally steeled himself. He squeezed through the bustling crowd, the hopeful murmurs of the residents sparking determination in his soul. But when he finally reached the billionaire, ready to pour his heart out, he felt like a ghost. The man hardly glanced his way, brushing him off dismissively. "I'm busy," was all he said, the warmth of his refusal stinging like a slap in the face. Marcus stood frozen, fury and humiliation washing over him like a tidal wave. A world in which he poured his soul into helping others was thrown into stark contrast with the dismissive wave of a hand that represented wealth and power. The crowd roared, yet he felt so small. "I'm more than just a mechanic," he thought, clenching his fists. "I'm a core of this community." Gathering the community became his new calling. In the familiar warmth of the church basement, stories flowed, struggles, dreams, laughter, and a fiery determination to rise up. They shared plans, strategized. Their fears turned into promises of change. Each time Elijah grinned and squeezed Marcus's hand, Marcus felt a glimmer of hope. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Out of the blue, an unexpected opportunity landed in Marcus's lap, a chance to invest in a 4B land project aimed at uplifting local businesses. Could this be it? Determination blazing in his heart, he set his sights back on the billionaire. He marched forth, fierceness in every step. This time, he would not be brushed aside. With courage that felt foreign yet thrilling, he confronted the billionaire. He spoke about their lives, their aspirations, how their community had so much to offer if only someone cared enough to realize it. Just as he felt that all he built might finally matter, the air thickened, tensions rising. The billionaire's eyes narrowed, and their discussion unfolded into an exploration of privilege and power. From that friction, something raw and transformative echoed. Would either of them step across that chasm of understanding? As Marcus walked away, uncertainty and hope swirled together, a storm brewing within him. Could a handshake ever illustrate true recognition of their shared dreams? The road ahead loomed large, filled with struggles yet bursting with potential. In that moment, everything was on the line, and as he looked back at his community, the battle for justice and dignity was far from over. The community gathered in the church basement once more, the air thick with anticipation and resolve. Marcus stood at the front, flanked by familiar faces, each one radiating a mix of hope and anxiety. They had come together to decide their next steps, to confront the billionaire and demand what was rightfully theirs. As he looked around the room, a surge of determination washed over him. This wasn't just about one man. This was about everyone struggling to make ends meet, the long stories of sacrifices woven into the fabric of Harlem. Elijah, Marcus called out, his son's name ringing with pride. Elijah darted over, his big brown eyes wide with curiosity. I need you by my side for this. The boy nodded eagerly, looking both scared and excited. The group began to brainstorm. Ideas bounced off the walls, like the flickering light overhead. They discussed community centers, parks, and small businesses that could thrive if given the right resources. We've got to make them see us, someone asserted. We've got to show them we are not just a project, we are a community. As night fell and shadows danced on the walls, Marcus felt a unique energy in the room, a sense of belonging, of fighting together. They rehearsed what they would say to the billionaire, defining their message. We are here. We deserve to be heard. But as he practiced his speech, memories of the earlier confrontation bubbled to the surface, a bitter reminder of how easily power dismissed their voice. Just then, the pastor, a quiet figure with a booming voice, stood up. We must also approach this with grace, even when anger flares. Let us make it clear we're not just asking for help, we're standing up for our right to thrive. Marcus nodded, inspired by the encouragement. He knew he had to balance urgency with strategy. The city could ignore a shouting crowd, but it could not ignore organized, passionate advocates. When the day arrived to confront the billionaire again, a chilling quake of nerves rattled him. Would they listen? Would he be heard? The sun rose over Harlem, casting a golden light that felt almost like a blessing. As they headed towards the posh business district, the reality of their mission weighed heavily on their shoulders. None of them had ever gone directly against such power before. Stay close, all right? Marcus whispered to Elijah as they stepped onto the polished marble of the lobby. The moment they stepped inside, the grandeur swallowed them whole. Bright lights, sleek furniture, and a buzz of business chatter surrounded them. For a brief moment, doubt crept in, making them feel small. Marcus held onto Elijah's hand tightly, grounding himself in his purpose. The sight of countless people moving about in tailored suits only fueled the fire in his heart. With each step toward the billionaire's office, his pulse quickened. The receptionist regarded them with a raised eyebrow, clearly questioning their presence. Tell him Marcus is here. With the community, he announced, his voice steady despite the turbulence inside. As they waited, Marcus couldn't help but feel a strange thrum of anticipation. They were here, not just for themselves, but for every person who had ever been overlooked. Finally, the door swung open, and the billionaire stood there, a mixture of surprise and annoyance etched on his face. What is this? He said, dismissively. Marcus stepped forward, heart racing but resolute. We're demanding respect, he said, not just for ourselves, but for our community. Every nerve in him ignited with purpose, and along with it came a wave of courage. This was at the moment they had been waiting for. But would it lead to understanding, or would they be shut down once more? Step inside, Marcus declared, knowing that whatever happened next, they were no longer invisible. And as the door closed behind them, a heavy silence fell, pregnant with possibilities. What would they face inside that room? Would their voices finally be heard? The air in the office felt different. It was charged, like a thunderstorm that had just begun to brew. Marcus stood tall, his heart pounding against his chest. He could feel Elijah's small hand clutching his as they stepped into the sleek, chrome office. Modern art hung on the walls, a far cry from the vibrant murals back home, each piece seeming to shout wealth and privilege. Why are you here? The billionaire asked, his tone flat, eyes narrowing as he sized them up. He leaned back in his plush chair like a monarch surveying his kingdom. Because we need to talk, Marcus replied, his voice steady but laced with adrenaline. Our community is struggling. While you keep building your empire, we're losing ours. The billionaire scoffed, leaning forward with an air of impatience. I'm not interested in charity. If you're looking for a handout, you've come to the wrong place. Anger surged within Marcus, but he pushed it down, remembering the pastor's words about grace. This isn't about charity. It's about opportunity, our right to succeed. Elijah watched, eyes wide. The boy felt like a tiny flame holding back a gust of wind. His father's courage ignited something inside him, a spark of belief that maybe they could do this together. I'm sure you have no idea how many people are suffering while you profit, Marcus continued, his voice growing firmer with each word. The billionaire waved a dismissive hand. Suffering is a part of life. I built my fortune from the ground up. Why should I care about your struggles? The words hit Marcus like a punch to the gut. Each syllable felt like the crushing weight of systemic injustice, contempt hitting home harder than ever. He could see Elijah's face hardening with confusion and hurt. Because we're more than just a statistic, Marcus said, heart racing. Every day, we're working to build a better life, not just for ourselves, but for everyone in Harlem. We deserve to be treated with dignity. At that moment, Elijah stepped forward, pulling away from his father's grasp. You have so much, but don't you want to help? We just want a chance to do something big, like you. His voice was small, but it rang with heartfelt conviction. The billionaire's expression shifted. It was a flicker, a slight crack in his icy demeanor. The room felt heavy with unspoken words. For a moment, silence wrapped around them like a blanket, the power of one small voice rising above the rest. Would it lead to change or more indifference? Listen, the billionaire finally relented, shifting in his seat. I can give you a small grant, but it won't change the systemic problems you face. You want change? You'll have to earn it. Marcus felt the weight of the room shift again. Was this the concession they needed? Or just another meaningless gesture in the face of real struggles? Earning it means we need you to listen to us, truly listen, Marcus replied, voice steady. Tonight, we're asking you to meet with our community. Look into our eyes and hear our stories. The billionaire hesitated. His face was a puzzle, and Marcus suddenly craved to see the pieces fall into place. Fine, he said at last, an edge of reluctant curiosity in his tone. I'll consider it, but let me make one thing clear, I won't be swayed easily. As they turned to leave, Marcus glanced back at the billionaire, a mixture of hope and panic dancing in his chest. This was their foothold, but what would follow? Would the next confrontation break down barriers, or would it harden them further? Stepping out into the plush lobby, Marcus's heart raced with mixed feelings. This was just the beginning. And as he looked down at Elijah's expectant face, he knew one thing for certain. They were just getting started. What would they pull from this moment? Would the billionaire keep his promise, or was he just playing for time? The streets of Harlem buzzed with energy, sunlight streaming down as they prepared for the evening. Marcus and Elijah walked hand in hand, the weight of their earlier conversation heavy, but also invigorating. Despite the uncertainty hanging over them, a sense of purpose pushed them forward. Tonight, they weren't just going to plead. They were going to claim their space. Their voices needed to be heard. As they approached the community center, Marcus noticed the faint sounds of laughter and chatter spilling through the open doors. The space had been transformed for the occasion. Bright banners hung from the ceiling, each one a testament to their resilience and strength. Neighbors were setting up chairs, sharing stories, their laughter mixing with the smell of homemade food wafting through the air. Elijah's eyes widened in awe. Look, Dad! Everyone came. Marcus felt a swell of pride, mixed with anxiety. Yep, all here to show our unity. It matters. He squeezed his son's hand a little tighter. Their lives could change tonight with just one moment. As they entered, warm greetings enveloped them. Hugs, handshakes, and nods of support greeted them from all directions. Familiar faces surrounded them, old friends and new allies alike. There was strength here, a collective heartbeat that pulsed with hope. But tonight was about more than that. It was about truth. The room filled up quickly, and soon, the atmosphere shifted. Marcus took a deep breath, looking over the crowd. He could feel their eyes on him, not just as a leader, but as a father, as a fellow dreamer. "All right, everyone," he called, his voice steady despite the tumult in his gut. "It's time to share why we're here, to speak our truth." Elijah watched his father, the way he commanded the room with his presence. Marcus could feel Elijah's pride and anticipation, feeding his courage. He had to get this right. As the community members began to present their stories, tales of struggle, perseverance, laughter, and heartbreak, the billionaire's visit loomed in the back of everyone's mind. They were showing courage in sharing their dreams, fears, and how their lives intersected with the reality of a world that often felt indifferent. "Remember," Marcus emphasized, "it's not just about telling our stories. It's about making sure he hears us. We have to be unforgettable tonight." Then came a wave of voices, a chorus of hope. "We want to be dismissed. This is our home. Give us an opportunity." Each voice seemed to build the momentum, carrying the room to new heights. As a final act, Marcus stepped back and gestured for Elijah to join him at the front of the room. "And now," he said, warmth radiating through his voice, "my son has a few words he'd like to share." All eyes turned to Elijah, the weight of expectation heavy yet thrilling. "I just want to say," he hesitated, then steadied himself. "We all deserve a chance to dream big. Just because someone has a lot doesn't mean they're better. We're all people, and everyone here deserves a shot at what we want." It was simple, but pure truth echoed in his words. There was a moment where silence fell over the crowd, a collective breath. And then, with a nod of understanding, applause erupted, reverberating off the walls like fireworks. Marcus's heart soared. They were together, united. But when they left the warmth of the center, could they convince the billionaire to believe in their dreams as well? Would he be moved, or would he remain the same distant figure they once faced? As they exited, he glanced down at Elijah, who beamed with confidence. "We did it, Dad." "Yes, we did." But as they stepped out into the cool night air, Marcus felt a familiar knot of anxiety twist in his stomach. This was just the beginning, but the next moment could change everything. How would the billionaire respond, and would it matter? The night air hit Marcus and Elijah like a cool wave, a stark contrast to the warmth that enveloped the community center. As they walked down the steps, the excitement from inside began to fade, replaced by an unsettling tension. The jubilance they had shared inside felt fragile, almost precarious. "What if he doesn't get us?" Elijah asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Marcus glanced sideways at his son, seeing the uncertainty hidden behind those bright eyes. "We've opened the door, Elijah. That's the first step. We just have to keep pushing." He wanted to believe that, but his stomach twisted. What if their truths wouldn't resonate? They walked to their car, the streetlights casting a warm glow and marking the path ahead. But something flashed behind them, a figure standing just outside the community center, slightly detached from the boisterous crowd that was now spilling out into the street. It must be him, Marcus thought, the billionaire whose visit had set this whole mission in motion. With each step, Marcus tried to push down his nerves. "Elijah, just remember this isn't about impressing him. It's about standing our ground." He wanted to instill in his son the belief that they were worthy of more than just recognition. They were entitled to opportunity and respect. "Do you think he'll listen?" Elijah asked, clutching his father's hand with a vice grip as they approached. Marcus scanned the scene. The man was tall, impeccably dressed, exuding an air of power and detachment that felt miles away from the warmth of their community. "We'll find out." As they got closer, the billionaire turned. There was a moment where their gaze locked, and Marcus felt a rush of adrenaline. This was it. A slight nod of understanding passed between them, an unspoken plea hanging in the air. But just then, laughter burst from the crowd, the energy around them unexpectedly buoyant. A group of neighbors exchanged high-fives, their shared success evident. Elijah's laughter erupted too, a reminder of innocence against the backdrop of the tension that was building within Marcus. "I'll go talk to him," Marcus said suddenly. He released Elijah's hand just for a moment and stepped forward, the weight of an entire community behind him. "Be brave, Dad," Elijah called after him. The billionaire shifted, regarding him with a scrutinizing glance. His presence loomed large, the kind that commanded attention without even trying. Marcus squared his shoulders, feeling the eyes of every neighbor, every voice that had spoken reverently of their dreams, accompany him. "Good evening. I'm Marcus," he said, extending his hand. For a moment, the hands hovered in the air between them, an echo of anticipation rippling through Marcus. Would the gesture be returned? The billionaire observed him with an inscrutable expression, as if measuring the worth of the connection in silent judgment. In that heartbeat, the crowd hushes. Everything felt suspended in time. Marcus could almost feel the collective breaths held around him. The billionaire's hand remained at his side, a powerful refusal hanging in the air. Marcus's heart sank. The laughter faded, replaced by an uneasy silence. His mind raced. What did this refusal mean? Was he already dismissing their efforts before they truly began? Then, behind Marcus, Elijah screamed, "Dad!" Something in his voice, raw and terrified, hit Marcus like a bolt of lightning. He turned just in time to see Elijah, face flushed with worry, pointing down the street toward another figure emerging from the darkness. Was it more than just a stranger? "Who was that?" Marcus asked, sensing that something was brewing, something important. Before he could grasp what was happening, the figure approached them, a flash of familiarity, framing a moment that could shatter his hopes or bring them soaring back to life. "Dad?" Wait, Elijah's voice faltered, and Marcus felt the chill of uncertainty washing over him once more. What was about to unfold? Would this encounter prove to change everything? Marcus's mind raced as he turned toward the figure emerging from the shadows. The streetlights painted the man's face in stark relief, revealing lines of experience etched deep into his skin. It was a face Marcus recognized: Frank, a mentor from his years in the non-profit sector. He hadn't seen him in years, and the sight sparked a flurry of mixed emotions. "Frank, what are you doing here?" Marcus exclaimed, stepping back as if to pull the man into a warm embrace. "I heard there was something happening, something important," Frank replied, his voice steady but filled with a kind of intensity. "I had to come check it out." Elijah's grip tightened on Marcus's arm. "Dad, we need to go," he urged, glancing back at the billionaire, who now appeared to be studying them both with a look of slight bemusement. "Hold on, Elijah. Just a moment," Marcus said, his voice quieter now, almost soothing. He looked to Frank, desperate for some guidance amidst the chaos. "I'm trying to talk to him about opportunities for our community. He doesn't seem interested." Frank's eyes darted from Marcus to the billionaire and back again. "I saw what just happened. That was a rejection, no doubt about it. But maybe it's also an opportunity," he suggested, an almost playful smirk appearing on his lips. "Didn't they say rejection is just a redirection?" Marcus's heart raced, but he struggled to stay rooted in the moment. "What do you mean? What if you show him that the community's strength isn't just in what can be offered, but what can be achieved together?" Frank placed a hand on Marcus's shoulder, grounding him. "You've always had that vision. You know how to inspire." Just then, another shout erupted from the crowd behind them. "Marcus, you've got to see this." It was Amira, an influential member of the community who had helped organize the event. The energy of her voice filled the air, buzzing with urgency. Elijah tugged at his father's shirt. "Can we go now, Dad?" Please? Marcus wrestled with the whirlwind of emotions. Just 1 second, buddy, he replied, torn between the past and a future he so desperately wanted to build. Maybe it's time to shake things up, Frank said, his voice calm. Take your vision to the people. Directly, as Marcus turned to the crowd, he saw familiar faces awaiting his next move. Their expressions, once filled with hope, now flickered with uncertainty. They trusted him, but where was he leading them? Let us show him what we're all about, he finally declared, his spirit ignited. We'll gather everyone. We'll put our stories front and center. We will show him that we are a force to be reckoned with. Elijah's face brightened, the doubt melting away. Can we use the banner? He asked excitedly, referring to a community project they had worked on together. Absolutely. Marcus grinned, feeling the energy shift once more. The billionaire stood, seemingly intrigued now, a slight glimmer in his eyes. The crowd buzzed with anticipation as Marcus shouted, "Let us come together, everyone. We have something to say, and it starts here." The crowd began to rally around him, a wave of voices rising together, echoing hopes and dreams intertwined. But as the energy surged, Marcus couldn't shake a lingering feeling. The billionaire's reaction still loomed large in his mind. Would he truly choose to engage with the community, or would this all fall flat? As the crowd began to gather, Marcus noticed Elijah's apprehension creeping back in, concern etched across his young face. What if he still doesn't listen? His son whispered, fear flickering in his eyes. Then we keep pushing, Marcus replied, his voice steady. But would that really be enough? In that moment of uncertainty, he felt like they were on the brink of something monumental, or a complete unraveling. The stage was set. What would the billionaire do next? As Marcus's rallying cry echoed off the surrounding buildings, the crowd slowly thickened. Faces turned toward him, filled with hesitation at first, but he could sense the shift. Hope sparked like a flame, spreading from one person to the next. He glanced back at Elijah, who now stood with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. At that moment, Marcus didn't just see his son. He saw the future hanging in the balance, the weight of every dream resting on his shoulders. Are you ready for this, son? He asked, kneeling to make eye contact. The honesty in his voice broke through the tension. We're leading them not alone, but together. Elijah's eyes widened, then sparkled with a hint of bravery. I'm ready, Dad. The murmur of the crowd formed a melody of anticipation as they began to chant Marcus. 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 Each repetition felt like a heartbeat, a collective pulse of community spirit. Marcus stepped forward, channeling that energy. Listen, he beckoned. We need to show him our stories, what makes us resilient. We're not just seeking charity, we're advocating for change. His words flowed, bursting from a place deep within him that yearned to be heard and to be understood. Amira pushed through the throng, her face alight with fervor. Marcus, I have an idea. Let us weave their stories into a tapestry, visually display what we're fighting for. Yes, he exclaimed, heart racing. Get everyone's stories, their experiences, what they've overcome. We'll turn this into something vibrant. The crowd gasped, excitement surging anew. The billionaire remained seated nearby, now watching with renewed interest. But Marcus fought the urge to return his gaze. The focus needed to remain on the crowd, on the magic unfolding before him. Frank stepped closer, his presence reassuring. This is your moment. You've inspired them before, and you can do it again. They're drawn to your fire. Breathing deeply, Marcus addressed the gathering. We're ready to showcase our passions. Each voice matters. How we've faced challenges, how we've risen together. He nodded, signaling to Amira to kick off the storytelling circle. With that, Amira raised her voice, calling for volunteers. Individual stories began to emerge, A woman spoke of rebuilding her community center. A teenager shared about his scholarship struggles. Elders recounted losing businesses to a shifting economy, yet always finding ways to uplift one another. Each tale fueled the collective spirit, transforming doubt into courage. As Marcus looked around, he could see the billionaire's expression shift from curiosity to genuine intrigue. The glimmer in his eyes deepened, as if he were watching the birth of something extraordinary. Just then, an older gentleman approached Marcus, Frank's brother, someone he hadn't seen in ages. "Marcus," he said, voice low yet insistent, "I always knew you'd bring this community together." He paused, surveying the gathering. "But you need to know the billionaire. He isn't our enemy. He could be our ally." Marcus's heart raced as the weight of those words sank in, adding to the whirlwind of emotions. What did this alliance mean? Could they form a bridge with someone who once stood apart from their struggles? In that moment, he felt torn. The vision he had for the community was bright, but what if the path forward meant aligning with those who had turned away before? As he opened his mouth to respond, another voice rang out from the crowd, an unexpected shout that sliced through the air. "Hey, aren't you the billionaire who turned down that small grant?" The voice pierced, challenging, bold. Everything paused. The crowd turned their attention to the billionaire, holding its breath. This was the moment that tested the heart of their unity. What would he say next? The billionaire's face shifted as the question hung in the air, a heavy silence enveloping the crowd. Eyes remained fixed on him, searching for a hint of remorse or arrogance, anything to confirm or deny the truth in that challenge. He stood up slowly, hands tucked into the pockets of his tailored jacket. The movement drew the crowd's attention like a magnet, anticipation thrumming in the atmosphere. As he cleared his throat, the tension morphed from hope to anxious waiting. "I'm not here to live in the past," the billionaire said, his voice steady but laced with weariness. "It was a decision I made based on my understanding at the time. But standing here, seeing the strength of this community, well, it's hard to ignore." Marcus felt a rush of conflicting emotions. Could this be a turning point? But change does not happen overnight. It takes time, understanding. He gestured to the stories that had been shared. These narratives, they open doors. They require us to listen and act. The billionaire's eyes flicked to Marcus, as if he were searching for validation. Yet, the crowd was still torn. Some faces expressed hope, others skepticism. A woman in the front row whispered to her friend, "How can we trust him? His money won't fix what is broken." "Listen, I understand your doubts," the billionaire continued, now pacing slowly. "But I want to learn from you. I want to be part of a solution, not the problem." Elijah, standing beside Marcus, squeezed his father's arm tightly, his youthful spirit visibly ignited by the engagement. "Dad, maybe he means it." A ripple of murmur surged through the gathered crowd. People were starting to ferment ideas of what a partnership could mean, bouncing around like a heartbeat thrumming louder with every conversation. Before Marcus could process the overwhelming thoughts spiraling in his mind, a powerful voice broke through. "You think you can just waltz in here after ignoring us? We've lost too much," a tall man cried out, his fists clenched. "You don't get to decide our worth." The billionaire met the gaze of the man, his expression unwavering. "I don't want to decide your worth. You define that. But I want to help amplify your voices to build this tapestry of resilience." The moment swung between hope and fury, every face a canvas of emotions. Marcus watched as hearts fought within themselves, the very fabric of their collective strength shimmering like threads in the sun. Something within him stirred. If there was a chance, just a chance, that this man could aid their efforts, wouldn't that be worth exploring? Yet as he took a step forward, doubt clawed at him. "What does this partnership look like?" Marcus asked, measuring his words carefully. "Let us start with listening tours, connecting with each community leader, and understanding what they really need," The billionaire replied, his tone earnest. I could use my resources to create an impact, but I want your input, your stories leading the way. Before Marcus could respond, a soft voice at his side began to speak. It was Amira, eyes sparkling. The stories, our stories, could still weave together something beautiful, something powerful. But it needs everyone's voice, including yours. The room felt alive with unpredictable energy, like a tightrope stretched over an abyss, ready to snap or strengthen under the weight of truth and unity. Marcus looked into the crowd again, searching for Elijah's face, his son's hopeful eyes filled with daylight that pushed back shadows of doubt. Could they really risk it all for an uncertain chance? But deep down, he knew the answer wasn't simple. As every story unfolded, it would change the narrative entirely. All right, Marcus finally said, gaining clarity. Let us begin with our stories, but we're going to need you to commit, truly commit, to our community. As the crowd held its collective breath, ready for the billionaire's response, Marcus felt a pivotal shift in the air, the first steps into an unknown future. Little did he realize, this was only the very beginning of a larger journey. What would their stories reveal next? The billionaire paused, the weight of Marcus's words settling in like a stone in the pit of his stomach. A flicker of uncertainty danced across his face, making Marcus wonder if his bold request had been too much too soon. The air felt thicker, as if it could bend under the pressure building between them. Yes, the billionaire finally said, his voice dipping lower, almost fragile. I will commit. The words hung in the air, crystal clear yet daunting. A tide of reaction surged through the crowd. Faces shifted from skepticism to a wild blend of disbelief and cautious optimism. Marcus could feel the swell of emotions crashing around him like waves breaking upon a shore. And in that moment, it struck him how fragile hope really was. Together, we'll outline our vision for the community, he encouraged, the fervor igniting the flame of potential. Let us support each other. Suddenly, a sharp laugh cut through the optimism, rattling nerve endings and catching everyone off guard. What does that even mean? It was the tall man again, his voice dripping with disbelief. You think we'll fall for sweet promises? We've seen this play before. You're right, the billionaire replied, unfazed. Trust is earned. I want to invite your skepticism. I need it to guide me. The crowd shifted, murmurs filling the space like a swarm of restless bees. Marcus sensed they were teetering, unsure whether to embrace this new reality or retreat back into their own defenses. Elijah leaned closer to his father. What if he's different? His eyes sparkled with hope. Marcus loved his son's unyielding spirit, but the burden of doubt loomed over him like a cloud. Everything starts somewhere, right? Amira whispered, casting a glance at the billionaire. It's about taking that first step. Just then, the announcement of a new voice made everyone turn. An older man in a worn-out cap, who had been silent until now, slowly stepped forward. I've lost family. I've lost friends. This is the place we fought to build up. Show us you mean it. The billionaire nodded, meeting each gaze with genuine intensity. I hear you. I want to make amends. I want you to be the architects of this journey. Concern edged on Marcus's face as the energy shifted yet again. The crowd hovered on the edge, caught in an unpredictable emotional current. He could feel it, the tension, the possibility. We need this, Amira stated, feeling the heart of the crowd. But we need it to be real. The billionaire took a deep breath, his gaze unwavering. What can I do to prove that? What do you need? A collective pause followed, heavy with those unspoken feelings. Slowly, someone from the back shouted, we want to tell our stories. All of them. Yes. The chorus resonated through the throng, piercing the clouds of hesitation like a ray of light. The billionaire smiled, nodding as if he just unlocked the door to a long-forgotten room filled with treasures. Then let us create a forum. A place where each of you can share what matters. I promise to listen. Tears brimmed in Marcus's eyes as he realized what this could mean: true connection, genuine sharing. But in the midst of this awakening, a voice piped up from the back. What if he is just playing nice? What if this is still a game? The question hung, thick and uncomfortable, as everyone turned to face the skeptic now stirring doubt into the heart of the burgeoning alliance. Marcus took a deep breath, feeling the weight of his own emotions swaying with the anticipation. Could they really move forward, or was this a fleeting moment doomed to dissolve? The room crackled with tension, a precarious balance of hope and fear as they faced a crossroads, a decision pregnant with possibilities. What would it take to convince them all to step into the unknown together? The air was thick with anticipation, the crowd humming with tension and hope. Marcus stood at the center of it all, his heart racing. Behind him, Elias waited expectantly, his small hand clasped tightly in Marcus's. "We're at a crossroads," Marcus began, his voice resonating through the gathering. "We've each shared our stories, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And we're asking for an honest chance to build something together." His gaze swept over the faces of his neighbors, familiar and kind yet lined with weary skepticism. The billionaire shifted, attempting to find his footing. The earlier dismissal hung like a heavy cloud. "All right, let us make this real. A community forum to hear each other," he said, more as a question than a statement. The crowd held its collective breath. "You have to be fully committed," Marcus pressed, glancing at the murmuring crowd for support. "People are tired of empty promises." A voice from the back called out, "Yeah, we need a chance to thrive, not just survive." The billionaire nodded, sensing the tide shifting. "I promise to listen to everyone, to every story. We can build a fund together for small businesses, community initiatives. But I need your input on where the money goes. Your words need to turn into actions." Someone shouted, boiling over with the energy of the room. Marcus felt it. It was a spark igniting hope in all their hearts. "Yes," Marcus affirmed, "and how can we trust you to come through? We need to see you get involved, not just at the top, but with us, the heart of Harlem." "I'll come to the meetings," the billionaire replied, his tone softening. A hint of humility slipped through his facade. "I'll show up and listen. But you have to let me in." A murmur cascaded through the crowd. Faces exchanged looks of guarded optimism. This could be the turning point. This could be real. But what about other big issues? A woman's voice broke through. The rise in rent? Gentrification? It all needs addressing. "I hear you," the billionaire replied. "It won't be easy, but I'll advocate for City Hall to consider. But change starts here. With you. With your voices. Together." Just then, Elijah stepped forward, bravely taking center stage next to his father. "You have to mean it. The kids here, we all want a good future. And if adults can't work together, then how can we?" Marcus felt a surge of pride. "We want to dream again. This community deserves that," he said, fighting back tears. This was bigger than just him and his son. This was about creating a legacy. The billionaire looked shaken, perhaps realizing the impact of the moment. "Then let us take this first step," he said, his voice stronger now. "A community forum, our stories in the spotlight. An action plan put into place." As the crowd erupted in applause, Marcus felt Elijah's hand squeeze his tight. The support surged like a wave, lifting their spirits. Hope whispered through the crowd, weaving hearts together. "Together, we can accomplish anything," Marcus said, basking in the warmth of the moment. He faced the billionaire, aware of the second chance being laid out before them. "Just remember, we won't ever back down from fighting for what we deserve." "I understand," the billionaire replied, an unexpected look of determination crossing his face. "And I'm ready to be a part of it." The energy shifted, the crowd responding. They were no longer fractured souls. They were a united front of family. The carnival-like atmosphere began to rekindle, laughter and chatter intertwining, as community members shook hands and embraced with a new sense of purpose. "Dad, we did it." Elijah beamed, his face alive with youthful excitement. "Yes, we did," Marcus replied, his heart swelling with emotion. "But this is just the beginning. We still have a lot of work ahead of us." As the sun dipped below the horizon, vibrant colors splashed across the sky, mirroring the transformation they had all undergone. This was a new dawn, a beginning filled with promise. A chance for Harlem to be heard and celebrated. The crowd drifted away, buzzing with excitement and new ideas. Marcus and Elijah lingered, gazing at the faces of their community, feeling the energy vibrate around them. They had faced the storm together, and now, together they would rise. This was more than change. It was a movement. So when the lights began to dim, one thing was clear: Marcus knew the journey would be long. But he also knew they would walk it together, step by step, hand in hand. Marcus took a deep breath, looking over at his son. "I can't wait to see what we create together." Elijah grinned, eyes glowing with determination. "Neither can I, Dad." And with that, they marched forward into a hopeful future, ready to embrace whatever lay ahead. Now, if you felt uplifted by this journey and want to see what comes next, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel. Don't miss out on more incredible stories that stir the heart and inspire change. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. It really makes a difference. And tell us your thoughts in the comments about this ending. How did it make you feel? This is the moment to show your support. Share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to witness this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to share. True fans know the power of unity.